Welcome everyone to Midday Meditation, Om Shanti. Last week I talked about ways that we could train the mind to have a higher quality of thought. And yesterday I brought up the topic of one kind of energy that appears on the screen of the mind is feelings. And feelings are more subtle than thoughts, and often they're more difficult to decipher than thoughts. And so the intellect has to be very subtle so the intellect can recognize feelings. And the intellect can recognize when a thought is coming, and I say, where did that thought come from? There's a good chance it was coming from my feelings, some deep feelings. And so this is important because all of the vices have a gross form, which is on the level of behavior or action, which we can see. So, for example, the vice of anger, the gross form would be a person would shout or slam a door, but also they have a subtle form. And often the subtle form is present in the mind for a very long time before that vice takes the gross form. And that subtle form of the vice could be neutralized, it could be transformed if the intellect were able to recognize what it is. But if the intellect isn't able to recognize, then the subtle form keeps appearing again and again and again until finally the vice takes a gross form. But we can avoid the gross form of the vice if we can recognize it in the subtle form. So yesterday I talked about the vice of arrogance, and today I'd like to talk about the vice of anger. We can all see the gross form of anger, anywhere from a baby crying to one nation bombing another nation. It's the same vice, anger. But we have to be aware that there are subtle forms of anger, which appear at the level of the feelings. And these subtle forms can be transformed. Now, just because it's subtle doesn't mean that it's light and easy, because it's possible that I've been entertaining the subtle forms of vices for a very long time, maybe all this life and maybe even more lifetimes than this one. So although they're subtle, it doesn't mean that they can be easily removed, but they can be removed or transformed with the proper attention. So for the vice of anger, one very common subtle form of anger is annoyance. It's socially acceptable to be annoyed. It's not socially acceptable to shout at a person or slam a door. That's the gross form. But because we generally don't associate the subtle form of a vice with the gross form, we tend to accept the subtle form without recognizing that it's very dangerous, actually. So to be annoyed can become a habit. And the habit is whenever anything is not exactly the way that I like it, over time, I just become annoyed. And it's okay to be annoyed, as I said. It's socially acceptable. And many people are annoyed by the same thing. And so we reinforce everybody in this subtle vice by saying, implicitly, it's okay to be annoyed because this is an annoying situation. But what it does is if we entertain the habit of being annoyed, it puts us always on edge. There's always going to be something coming up, something else coming up that's going to annoy me. And I don't know when it's going to come. And I'm going to lose my happiness instantly when the thought comes, this is annoying. First, the feeling comes, the feeling of not being able to handle this, not liking this. The feeling comes, and then the thought comes, this is annoying. So we have to deal with the feeling. And there's always a flip side of every vice. So, for example, yesterday I said the flip side of the vice of arrogance was this feeling of being insulted or overlooked or ignored or undervalued. And the flip side of the vice of anger is to give up on the self, to get frustrated with the self, and to stop moving forward because things aren't going my way. I don't know how to get what I want. Give me just one moment. Sorry, the cleaning ladies came early today. So the flip side of anger often exhibits as depression, this either a subtle or intense frustration with the self, giving up on the self. And so we have to look at what are the qualities of the soul, the eternal qualities of the soul, that if we use these qualities, we can avoid subtle forms of anger. So, what do you think? I'm going to ask you the question first. What quality or what virtue could help us avoid getting into the place of subtle anger? Either subtle anger at the level of being annoyed or being resentful. Resentment is another subtle form of anger. Being resistant is a subtle form of anger. Or the flip side, being depressed or being frustrated with the self or giving up on the self. Any thoughts? What virtues or qualities? Rajni, any
You
thoughts?
leave the place when you get angry, sister, with anybody. You just don't say anything, you just walk away.
You just walk away. You don't allow yourself to get pulled into somebody else's problem, or it could be my problem also. I don't put myself in a place where I can inflict my problem on others. So that's a good strategy. Yeah. Anything else you can think of? Okay. Well, two virtues that are very useful with anger. One is patience, and the other is tolerance. And so, patience, we often get angry because things don't happen according to our time frame. They will happen eventually. I think this is true between parents and children. The parent tells the child to do something, the child says, okay, and eventually in a week or two, the child will do it. But the parent wants it done today. And so anger arises. Or, there's a lot of tension often on our work teams. And if one member of the work team is late, that means everybody else is going to be late. And so anger comes up. But the anger doesn't make things happen more quickly. Actually, the anger kind of puts a block so that nothing can happen. So patience, we have to have patience if we want to avoid anger, if we want to avoid getting annoyed. Have a little bit of patience. Give people a little extra time. They might need it. And the other quality, tolerance. And tolerance means I'm okay when things are not going my way. I'm still okay. I don't like it. Yeah, I acknowledge that, but I'm okay. I'm still going to function. I'm still going to contribute. I'm still going to move forward. And this is the quality of tolerance. And so, if we can use these two qualities, practice these two qualities, patience and tolerance, then we can avoid even getting into the experience of subtle anger. We call the quality anger isn't necessary. It's not going to help. It's not going to move things forward. It's not going to bring any positive result. And if we can keep our mind peaceful this way, keep the mind peaceful with these qualities of patience and tolerance, then we are not likely to experience the gross forms of anger. And most of us don't get into gross forms of anger very often, but these subtle forms of anger, this resentment, resistance, not liking, all of this in my mind, it makes it makes my life miserable. So we don't want to have to experience this. We don't want to have to make ourselves uncomfortable with these energies. And this is what we'll practice together today. To begin with, take a few deep, slow, easy breaths. Watch the air enter and leave the lungs. Watch the breath peacefully. Nobody ever gets angry at their own breath. So we have the habit of being peaceful in our relationship with the breath. Watch the air very peacefully. And as you watch the breath, let the mind become even more peaceful. Peace is the antidote to anger. If we're deeply peaceful, things can happen that we don't like, but we still won't get angry over it. If we're peaceful, we cultivate that inner state of peace. And so sometimes when people are about to get angry, somebody will say, just count the breath or watch the breath, because that helps make the mind peaceful. Now bring your awareness to the inner being, the being of light, the soul. I am the peaceful soul who lives in this body. Peace is my strength and my support and my stability. If I want to have a stable life where I'm not constantly reacting to things, I have to be peaceful inside. And conversely, if I am deeply peaceful, nothing will upset me. Deeply peaceful. I might be peaceful, but only for a short amount of time. And so patience is the ability to be peaceful for a long period of time. Sometimes we have to be patient for years. if we're dealing with a very deep rooted bad habit, we try and we try and we try to transform that habit, but it takes a long time. So, patience. Let me stay peaceful, keep making effort, and keep my awareness inside so that I don't react. I don't resist. I don't resent. I stay stable in my own peace. Patience. Patience is a quality that comes out of peace. Deep, deep peace makes me patient. And another quality that's needed if I want to remove the vice of anger, the other quality that's needed is tolerance. Tolerance is the ability to be uncomfortable, to be in a difficult situation and be okay. Tolerance means right now in the moment, I'm in the difficulty, I'm aware of the difficulty, I'm not over focusing on it, I'm not feeling sorry for myself, I'm not blaming anybody. But I'm okay. And because I'm okay, even though I'm experiencing this difficulty, I can take positive steps. This is tolerance. And tolerance comes from love, love for myself, love for my life, love for my own values. I'm willing to tolerate difficulty because I have love. And I won't avoid difficulty and avoid life because it contains difficulty. I won't avoid other people, even difficult people, because I have love. Love is like a shield that protects me from difficulty. And so tolerance, patience, I can stay peaceful for a long period of time. And tolerance, I can stay loving even in difficult situations. With these two qualities, the subtle forms of anger greatly reduce. I don't feel anger towards others, and I also don't feel any subtle anger towards myself. I'm using my energy to develop spiritual strength and to take positive steps. I'm not going to waste my spiritual energy or waste my energy in negative thoughts and feelings, because that will eventually lead to the gross forms of anger. See yourself as spiritually strong in patience, which is a form of peace, and spiritually strong in tolerance, which is a form of love. And then my intellect can function. If the best thing to do is walk away, I walk away. But I don't walk away in a huff. I walk away with lightness. If it's really a good idea to stay a little while longer, I'm grounded in peace. I'm grounded in love. So I'm not going to explode. If I need a little extra strength, I go to the Supreme Father, the one who's always available in emergencies to help. But we don't want to go in this emergency consciousness because then we won't be able to access God's help. We want to be able to go as a being of peace and a being of love. And then as a soul, a tiny being of light, fly to the home of light. This is the ultimate walking away. To take my mind outside of the material world and into the dimension of light, where it's peaceful. There's nothing to provoke me. There's nothing to threaten me. I'm in the company of the most peaceful being. I absorb that peace. I absorb the love. I stay quiet. I stay focused. I don't allow my mind to go back to whatever is causing me distress. I don't allow it. The intellect is very firm. No, do not go there. Stay in this place of peace. Absorb the peace. Be peaceful. Be light. Be stable. Be detached. And then, filled with spiritual power, I bring my awareness back into the present moment. Om Shanti. Our blessing for today. There's the front of the card. And the blessing says, you radiate with the beauty of a peaceful mind and healthy heart. You radiate with the beauty of a peaceful mind and healthy heart. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Sister. Om Shanti, everyone.
Thank you, sister.
We
I
have
have a question.
Okay, let me say one thing and then I'll answer your
Sure.
question. We have a meditation course starting this Saturday. It's on Zoom. It meets on 3 consecutive Saturdays starting at 10 a.m. We've had a little trouble with registering on the website. So if you're interested in taking the course, you let me know and I will register you. Okay, Mahadevi, what would you like to say?
Sister, the word patient has two meanings, right, sister?
Correct, yes. So
So
when
when
I'm sick and I go to the doctor, I'm a patient.
so I sometimes get carried away by the meaning of the words. If I'm saying I'm peace like that, I'm patient, I feel like getting into the two meanings. My doubt itself is taking me to that meaning, sister.
So the Spanish word for peace is paz, paz, for peace. That comes from the Latin root, which is pax. So patience comes from that root word, peace, as well. So I guess if you're sick, you have to be patient.
Okay, sister. Thank you, sister.
Okay. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister.